Welcome, murderers, to a special and unexpected standalone episode featuring your host, Abbey. Thank you for joining me today. So the reason why this episode is happening is because my sister assigned me to look up some liminal spaces, haunting stories, scary story, ghost stories, magic stories. And I pandered to Reddit to learn if anybody had any personal experience with mall paranormal activity. I was specifically looking for activity on Mall 205 in Portland, Oregon. Didn't get any. That's okay. I'll maybe be able to share some of that information with you guys later. What happened was I did get a response from someone who actually had quite a number of stories, and I will share these stories with you now. I worked in a slowly dying mall for a very long time. It was built in the 80s on old farmland and to this day is still referred to by some as, quote, this new mall, unquote, even though it's basically on life support. Again, keep in mind, this was only previously farmland, nothing else. I have no explanation for any of it, and some of these stories I've only heard third party from other workers. One store I worked at was a luggage and bag store. On the back door, there was a large mirror where customers could see what they looked like with certain bags on backpacks. In the hallway opposite the mirror was a standalone sign with luggage around it. One particularly busy night, I finally had a moment to pause and grab a drink. I turned to open the mirrored door to grab my water, and in the reflection I spotted a customer who hadn't been there a moment ago, staring towards me with a big smile. With a sigh, thirst unquenched, I turned around to go out and help them. No one there. No one in the hall walking away, just nothing. In this same store, I was alone during another worker's lunch break. I saw them leave, knew they were going out of the mall to eat. But 10 minutes after they left, I turned around from working on a display to see a figure quickly walking into the back room. Confused as to why my coworker was back so quick, I went to check. No one was there. A similar incident happened in another store I worked at, a jewelry store. Due to security reasons, the jewelry store always had to have more than one person working. This one time, it was myself and the manager, and we both watched as a figure quickly walked into the back room. We went to check it out. Once again, no one there. Things would fall off shelves randomly a lot in multiple stores I worked in. Things that had no reason to fall, be it ornaments toppling over, entire shelves collapsing, or whole hangers of light purses falling off the wall. One store, a hat store, we would come in to find random hats on the floor all the way across the store. They managed to get it on video, a hat just flying off the shelf onto the floor after close. No air conditioning on, no shelf slipping, just a flying hat. A maintenance worker once told me that it was a very creepy place to work at night. In one particular store, a longtime beloved manager passed after a grueling battle with cancer. According to this maintenance worker, sometimes you could hear her laughing after she passed, and the mall was closed and empty. A mimic or the manager's ghost, I wonder. Okay, back to the story. Back to the luggage store one day. I was alone and it was busy. After checking in with all the customers, I stood nearby and a female voice very clearly whispered my name in my ear. No one was close to me, and it said my full name. I didn't wear a name tag and I didn't know anyone in the store. Oddly enough, crosses would randomly appear on items in the luggage store, like physical tiny crosses, more than once. No one ever saw anyone leaving them. Once, it was religious icon cards, like of a saint. And that's a few weird things off of the top of my head. And that was shared on Reddit by a user, Lane WK. This is Highland Square Mall. Quote, it was originally a rural highway farmland and some houses. As more development came to Pictou County, a regional shopping center was built right off of Highway 104, which is part of the Trans-Canada Highway system. So, of course, the history on this mall is extremely vague, very limited, talks about only just being farmland before and blah, blah, blah. So immediately upon looking at a map of where this mall is located, it is prime real estate for anybody trying to live off the land. It is located directly off of the East River of Pictou, just south of Trenton, just south of a large harbor off of the Atlantic. So you have this mall built directly off of inland river freshwater source. It is deep enough inland. You've got highly dense forested land providing shelter from the elements off of this east coast from the Atlantic, and screams to me that it was great land to live off of by native peoples. And sure enough, looking into the history, I find the first peoples of this nation, the Mi'kmaq is how you pronounce it. And actually, that wasn't their original name. They referred to themselves as Ulnug, which means the people. And then the French settlers in the 1500s, 1600s just started calling them Mi'kmaq, which means new kin friends. And that has since stuck and became what they are known as. So you've got the Ulnug or the Mi'kmaq. And do the Mi'kmaq have a deep connection with this land? Of course they do. They are the ancient ones, present in Pictou County area, thought to have been from 3,500 to 7,000 years established. Prior to settlement, all of the names were different. I can't pronounce any of them, but the East River had a name, and it was in their native language, and it was known as the Long River. Trenton had a name in their native language, meant duck land. They were nomadic hunters and gatherers of the land, surviving on this land, the native peoples of this land, for thousands of years. I think it's 1601, you get the first Mi'kmaq chief being baptized Catholic. Okay, come 1629, Sir William Alexander is given a land grant by King James VI of Scotland, and he named it Nova Scotia, literally translated New Scotland. Come the late 1700s and early 1800s, there is a very strong wave of Celtic Scottish settlers. The following are extracts from publications of Sir Walter Bromley, Esquire. This is titled An Account of the Aborigines of Nova Scotia called the Mi'kmaq Indian. Published in 1822. In his account, although they generally speak English and are scattered over the face of the country, they have made little progress in civilization. They have embraced the Catholic religion in consequence of the French having been the first settlers. Like other Indians, they live in the woods, contiguous to lakes and rivers. Hello, anyone. And subsist chiefly by fishing and shooting. Okay, so here we go. That further validates my point of view that they definitely had a strong relation with this land. He notes that, quote, the men are by no means so dissipated in their habits as some prejudiced or uninformed authors have represented them. And while it must be admitted that there are many confirmed drunkards in the neighborhood of Halifax, yet it is also certain that there still exists a considerable proportion of sober, intelligent characters in various parts of the country who are no means averse to agricultural pursuits, as has been recently proved by actual experiment. The best means of affording them a regular subsistence is to give them employment. And for this desirable purpose, a plan has been in operation during the last 5 years, which has so far succeeded as to prove by actual experiment that the majority of the Indians are by no means averse to agricultural pursuits or the habits of civilized life. So, assimilate, become useful to us, is what this is saying. I mean, he's petitioning on their behalf and trying to speak well of them, but boy. In Mr. Bromley's appeal on behalf of the Indians, printed in Nova Scotia in 1820, page 24, he says, quote, one of the chiefs who took up his abode with me a few weeks ago appeared much agitated while he related the circumstance of the white people having obtained a grant of the burying ground of his ancestors, whose bones they had lately plowed up. And this, to an Indian, is a species of sacrilege which he never can forgive. I am also acquainted with a particular part of the province of Nova Scotia where a most ancient burying ground of the Indians is now in the possession of the white people, who, however, out of courtesy, still allow them to bury their dead there, Mr. Bromley adds. Quote, while reading over this part of my manuscript to a friend, a native of this country, he assured me that the white people had not only dispossessed them of their land, but that they had also driven them from their fishing ground, and he related the following anecdote as he was an eyewitness to the circumstance which took place last autumn. Quote, in Chedabucto Bay, contiguous to Fox Island in the eastern part of Nova Scotia, where the Indians have been in the constant habit of fishing and supplying the white fishermen with their manufactures, peltry, and for several years they have been expelled in the most brutal manner from that fishing ground by the white people, who entered their camps, defiled their women, abused and beat the men, and in fact conducted themselves in such a manner as to prevent the possibility of their remaining any longer. My friend assures me that he has purchased from those Indians during his visits to that place more than 300 barrels of mackerel. He described them as strictly honest, sober, and intelligent. I think that it's worth noting that for thousands and thousands of years, these people, the Mi'kmaq, the Ulnug, lived in this land. And by 1850s, you've got large numbers of the Mi'kmaq, quote, actually starving and crying for food, begging for plots of land where they can adequately hunt and feed themselves. So it only takes 100 years before the Mi'kmaq tribe is dying out from starvation, disease, begging for land. So as of 1977, we cannot fairly say that there was no real significant history to this land and no explanation for why these things are happening at this mall. I'm not trying to attribute every haunting and every new weird paranormal ghost story to native curses or native peoples, but I am trying to draw the point that, this was definitely Native American land long before settlers came in here and before this mall was built and before there was farmland there and they just kicked out a few residents. And it's important to be aware of that. beyond that, there is also more than one cemetery within like 5 minutes of this mall, too. So there's quite possibly a number of reasons why this paranormal stuff could be happening at this mall. I don't know how to end this. It's meant to be educational. It's meant to bring light to this. It's meant to keep people aware and open of where we are, where we live, who was here before us, and not to erase that history. I appreciate anybody who listened in. I appreciate that person for sharing that post. And again, I'm not trying to attack them, and I'm not trying to call them out for not knowing it, but I am here to say that there is a history to that land. And I hope you enjoyed learning, and I hope you feel compelled to continue learning deeper. Interestingly enough, when I visit the Mi'kmaq Family Resource Center website, a safe and fun place for families, their homepage has a really interesting background design. It's got a sort of tribal looking pattern to it with diamonds going across the top and bottom of the page, and each diamond features an animal. There is a sea turtle, what appears to be an eagle, what appears to be perhaps a bison or oxen, a bear, there's a beaver, and a wolf, and then back to the sea turtle. Now, one I didn't mention, which was right between the bear and the beaver, is a big ol' upright bipedal Bigfoot. And I took a picture of that and I sent it to my sister because I thought it was really, really interesting that their website includes all of these well-studied, well-known animals. And then right there in the middle is this cryptid that we love talking about. It kind of tickled me and made me really curious to know what the history is there. Why did they include that? What do they know? What do they see? What's their culture tell us? Tell me, storytellers, the first peoples, please and thank you. All right, murderers, I hope that you enjoyed this weird little educational tangent that I went on. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for listening. Bye.